Okay, picture this. Everyone's morning coffee in hand, scrolling through headlines, and boom. The world wakes up to the sugary sweet announcement that Prince Harry and Meghan Markle have welcomed their baby girl. All right, June 4th, 2021, the day the world collectively smiled. The couple, now thousands of miles away from Buckingham Palace, shared the news from sunny California. Their daughter's name? Lilibet Diana, Mountbatten, Windsor. Even her name sounded like a love letter to the royal family. Lilibet, after Queen Elizabeth's childhood nickname, and Diana, after Harry's late beloved mother. A perfect blend of old-world royalty and new-age freedom. The internet exploded. Headlines screamed, "A princess is born in California." Glittery baby photos circulated everywhere. Fans cried happy tears. For a moment, it felt like the final act of a royal redemption story. Meghan and Harry, free from palace chains, building their fairy tale life under the California sun. But fairy tales, as we all know, always have a twist. Because somewhere behind that glowing announcement, something didn't fit. It wasn't dramatic at first. Just a small, almost invisible detail. One tiny number on a birth document. But that single number cracked open a secret so big, it would make even Buckingham Palace tremble. Let's rewind. The press got their hands on what looked like the official birth certificate of little Lilibet. It seemed totally normal. Full name, date of birth, Santa Barbara Cottage Hospital listed, Prince Harry proudly named as her father. Everything looked textbook perfect. But then someone, probably a bored journalist with a sharp eye and too much coffee, noticed a problem. Down at the bottom of every U.S. birth certificate sits a string of numbers, a state code that tells you exactly where the baby was born. California's is 104. Always. It never changes. But on Lilibet's document, it read 105. Wait, what? 105? That's not California's code, it's Colorado's. Now imagine that. A birth certificate saying born in California, but the digital fingerprint on it pointing straight to another state. It's like a passport claiming you were born in London, but the barcode screams Lisbon. That's not a typo. That's a red flag. And that wasn't even the only one. At the top of the certificate, Harry's title was written out. His Royal Highness, the Duke of Sussex. Sounds grand, right? Except, plot twist, California law doesn't allow any titles or styles on official documents. Birth certificates only show legal names. No His Royal Highness, no Duke. Just Henry Charles Albert David. So if this document was really Californian, it shouldn't have looked like that at all. Then came the gut punch. When someone formally asked California's Vital Records Office to verify Lilibet's birth record, the response came back chillingly simple. No record found. Not restricted, not sealed, just not there. And that, darling, is where the royal fairy tale began to crumble. Now this is where the story goes from, that's odd, to hold on. What the actual royal mess is happening here? Because that no record found reply, it wasn't just a clerical hiccup. It was a full-blown mystery wrapped in silence. See, when someone's born in California, anyone, even the most private celebrity, there's at least a trace. The state keeps a public record of every birth. Sometimes it's sealed, sure, but it still exists. You can request verification. But in Lilibet's case, when journalists and researchers filed formal requests, paid their fees, and waited for the paperwork, California's Vital Records Office didn't say confidential. They said something far worse. No record exists. That's not privacy, that's absence. Imagine that. The daughter of one of the most famous couples on the planet, a child celebrated in headlines across continents, and yet, on paper, she didn't exist. Not in California, not anywhere. Then people started asking, okay, if she wasn't born there, where was she born? That's when things got even more bizarre. The certificate listed a doctor's name, Dr. Melissa Drake, a respected obstetrician supposedly responsible for the royal delivery at Santa Barbara Cottage Hospital. But here's where the story twists again. Just days after Lilibet's birth, Dr. Drake closed her practice. Completely. She left a vague message for her patients saying she wanted to focus on health and family. No press statement, no farewell announcement, no new clinic. She just vanished. Now doctors take sabbaticals all the time, but right after supposedly delivering one of the most high-profile babies on Earth? Come on, that's not retirement. That's retreat. And here's where it gets even juicier. Dr. Drake's husband runs, wait for it, a fertility clinic. Cue the collective gasp. Because suddenly the whispers weren't about California codes or royal titles anymore. They were about something much, much deeper. What if Meghan hadn't given birth naturally at all? What if the entire story, the glowing press release, the cozy hospital photos, the carefully worded statements, was hiding a truth that could shake the monarchy to its core? You could practically hear the conspiracy forums light up. People started connecting dots. The wrong state code, the missing record, the vanishing doctor, and now a fertility connection. It was like a real-life royal thriller unfolding in slow motion. And behind the scenes, the palace, silent. Not a single correction, clarification, or denial. Just silence. The same polished, frosty silence that's followed every scandal they can't quite control. But this time, silence wasn't calming anyone. It was making the questions louder. Who really delivered Lilibet Diana Mountbatten Windsor? If Dr. Drake didn't or couldn't, where was Meghan when all this was supposedly happening? And why did every attempt to verify a simple, routine record, something that should take minutes, hit a dead end? See, that's the thing about royal secrets. They don't just vanish, they echo. By now, the press, the online sleuths, even a few insiders had started to whisper the unthinkable, that maybe Lilibet wasn't born the way the world was told. Maybe she wasn't even born to Meghan at all. And if that were true, oh, that would change everything. Because the royal family isn't just about love stories and tiaras, it's about bloodlines, lineage, legal succession. If a royal child isn't born under the right rules, the right witnesses, the right laws, their claim to the throne crumbles. And suddenly, that tiny number 105 didn't look like a typo anymore. It looked like a clue. Can you imagine? The grandchildren of King Charles, the great-grandchildren of Queen Elizabeth, possibly not legally royal at all. No wonder the palace has gone silent, and that silence, it's not denial, it's defense. Because the moment Buckingham Palace even acknowledges the whispers, they'd have to open the books, show documents, confirm witnesses, release medical records. And that would either silence the rumors forever, or blow up the monarchy from the inside out. It's no longer just about a baby's birth certificate. It's about centuries of tradition standing on a single, shaky document. People started digging even harder. FOI requests, media inquiries, even private investigators. One source, after weeks of waiting, managed to get a California Records employee on the phone. The call lasted 25 minutes and 45 seconds. And guess what? The employee confirmed what no one wanted to believe. California's birth code is always 104, never 105. So the mismatch on Lilibet's certificate? Completely real. Then they turned to the UK government. Someone filed a Freedom of Information request with Parliament asking for official confirmation of Archie and Lilibet's births. And the response? A polite shrug. Parliament said they couldn't confirm because they're not a hospital. They suggested reaching out to Buckingham Palace. But the palace, darling, is immune to FOI laws. They don't have to say a word. 2 countries, 2 governments, no answers. At that point, it stopped feeling like a coincidence. It started to feel like a cover-up, and everyone was asking the same question now. If everything's fine, why are the records gone? By this point, everyone who'd been following the whispers had one question burning hotter than a paparazzi flashbulb. What on earth is going on? Because all the pieces were there. A birth certificate with the wrong code, a missing record, a vanished doctor, a palace that suddenly developed amnesia. And when you line those up, darling, you don't get coincidence. You get strategy. That's when the theories began to swirl. And oh, did they swirl like champagne in a royal glass. There were 3 possible explanations floating around. One innocent, one scandalous, and one truly dangerous. Let's start with the first theory, the oops, my bad explanation. A clerical mistake. Maybe someone at the California Records office typed the wrong code. An honest error that snowballed into chaos. Sounds simple enough, right? But here's the problem. We're not talking about some random family in Santa Barbara. This was Prince Harry and Meghan Markle. The world was watching. The media was camped outside their home. Every move they made was news. So how could a mistake like that slip through and stay uncorrected for years? If it really was an innocent error, why didn't Meghan's PR team release the corrected certificate and end the whispers in 5 minutes flat? Instead, the silence continued. And silence in the royal world doesn't mean ignore it. It means we can't fix it. Which brings us to the second theory, and this one hit like lightning. What if Lilibet wasn't born the traditional way at all? What if Meghan and Harry had used a surrogate, or even adopted her privately? Now, before anyone gasps too loudly, surrogacy isn't a crime, but for the royals, it's a constitutional nightmare because royal law demands that the child be born of the mother's body. If Meghan didn't physically give birth, Lilibet wouldn't legally count in the line of succession. That would explain everything: the missing record, the secretive doctor, the quiet fertility connection. Remember, Dr. Drake's husband runs a fertility clinic. It would also explain why no one ever saw Meghan entering or leaving that hospital, or why the palace avoided every question about witnesses and medical staff. And the most haunting part? If surrogacy or adoption were ever proven, it wouldn't just affect Lilibet, it could call Archie's status into question too. Suddenly, the 6th and 7th spots in the royal line, the ones belonging to Meghan and Harry's kids, would vanish instantly. Not demoted, not delayed, just gone. That's not gossip, that's royal law. Now, that theory alone would have been enough to send shockwaves through the monarchy. But there was still a third possibility, the one people whispered about behind closed doors, afraid to even say out loud. A cover-up, a deliberate decision made by the palace, or perhaps even higher powers, to keep the truth hidden. not to protect the children, but to protect the institution. Because if the world found out that 2 royal children were ineligible for succession, it would be chaos. The monarchy's credibility would crack like glass. So imagine this. Behind those gilded palace doors, a quiet deal is struck. A few documents adjusted, a few signatures withheld, a story polished and presented to the public with royal grace. Born healthy and happy in California, they said. And the world smiled, none the wiser. But documents don't lie, and numbers don't vanish by accident. When people started connecting those threads, one cold truth began to shimmer beneath all the confusion. This wasn't just about one birth, it was about a royal image carefully protected at all costs. Because for the monarchy, survival has always been about perception. And when perception begins to crumble, the crown trembles.